So here we are. We find ourselves in a very new world. A world in which we are no longer going out to meet people like we used to. And instead, we're needing to connect with people, to build relationships, to build trust, to influence, and to sell virtually. Ultimately, you need to convey all of who you are through this particular format. And if you don't, you're going to create a strange impression or a negative impression, or maybe you just won't have much impact. And if you think about it, your impact is how people see you, how people hear you, and the feeling that they get inside connecting with you. So in this video, let me break down some examples of what to do and what not to do. For example, many people will be using the wrong type of microphone. And when you're using the standard microphone in your laptop, this is how it sounds. Notice the difference. My voice is sounding tinny and echoey. It's carrying less credibility and it sounds less engaging to listen to. I've now switched to the inbuilt microphone on my external USB webcam. I don't think this sounds any better. In fact, it might sound even worse. I can hear that the audio is clipping, so if I increase the volume of my voice or come a little bit closer to the camera like that, notice it just doesn't sound good to your ears. Now, there's only a certain amount of time that people are going to tolerate this. And again, if you're trying to connect with people, you don't want them to be tolerating the call. You don't want them to be tolerating the sound of your voice. You want them to be feeling relaxed and engaged. And now let's compare this with a dedicated external condenser microphone. So this is a microphone that you can purchase from Amazon. It's a USB connection. You plug it into the USB. You then have this in front of you. And the difference is amazing. And again, you don't see that. It looks no different to you as the viewer. But in terms of how it sounds, notice the richness of my voice. It gives my voice more depth, more resonance. It makes a huge impact. In this example, I have made no changes to the lighting in the room, but I've changed the position and the direction of the camera. Notice the huge impact this makes. I suddenly have a very heavy dark shadow across my face, which looks strange. It looks perhaps unfriendly. I also have a different background. I have clothes hanging on the door. It looks distracting. It looks far less professional. Combine this with the poor quality of audio. This is not a good experience for your customers. I'm now using the dedicated webcam on my laptop. Again, this is a MacBook Pro. It's a great quality HD webcam. However, what has now changed is that now because I've got my laptop on my desk, I'm now looking down at you. How does this feel? It's very adult child, isn't it? It's like you're a young child suddenly and I'm the adult and I'm looking down on you. And it just doesn't work. It makes me perhaps come across as superior, judgmental, condescending. It might make you feel a little bit uneasy, intimidated, pressured. It really doesn't work. So even though the picture quality is fairly clear, again, this angle using your MacBook, using your laptop webcam really doesn't work. So here we go, double whammy. I'm now talking to you from my laptop, so the angle again is not ideal. It looks like I'm looking down at you. Well, I am looking down at you, and hey presto, look at this. Got some lovely background here, and I'm also sitting in the kitchen, so you can hear this echoey sound. So now you can't really see my face. You've got this real horrible contrast of the bright light plus the blinds making it even more uncomfortable for your eyes. If you've set up your computer like this and you're talking to customers or senior people or important people or key stakeholders, you are just making it difficult and stressful for them to pay attention to you. Don't do this. Something you also want to look into is software that you can use to manipulate the exposure, the brightness, the contrast of your webcam. So right now I've taken my particular webcam and I've got way too much light. I'm sitting in front of the window, which is generally a great thing to do, but often it can result in being washed out. So using this software, I can then adjust the camera to make that better. Now I think that's a little bit too dark. I would say that's about right, something around there. You can also adjust the gain as you like it. But again, this plays a huge part in your credibility, in how you're coming across. You need to look bright enough, but not too bright. The other thing to think about is your background and your surrounding environment. Are you making it easy for your audience to focus on you, or are you creating distractions without knowing it? Maybe more accurately, you could say, are you allowing distractions? Because suddenly there's various things around me which are going to take your attention. And as much as I might try to engage you with my body language and my voice and my words, there are certain other things you're going to start noticing, and you're going to start thinking about them and asking yourself questions and making comments on them. So you need to remove these distractions, minimize them, so that you are the most interesting thing in the entire frame. And there we go. We've just removed those things out of the frame, out of the shot, and suddenly you become the most interesting thing in the screen. And that's how it should be. When you're communicating, presenting, pitching, selling, you need to be the most interesting thing in the entire screen. So not only do you need to consider the webcam, you need to consider the software, you need to consider the background of the room, you need to consider a good quality microphone, you need to consider the positioning of the microphone, the acoustics of the room. You also need to consider, where are you actually looking? Because how does this feel to you right now? A little bit strange, I would imagine, because right now I'm looking around my monitor. I've got a 24-inch monitor in front of me, and I've got an icon down there, and I've got a window here, and a window there, and a little program there, and your video and your screen where I see your face might be there. So this works for me because now I'm looking at you and I get to see your face, but it doesn't work so well for you. What works well for you is this. And now I'm looking at the webcam itself. The webcam is perched on top of this 24-inch monitor. It's at eye height. This is really important. We don't want to have the webcam, because now we're back to being on the laptop. That's the same angle as the laptop. Sometimes people have their webcams perched up high and they're looking constantly up. Or then if I now look at the screen, you're just looking at my forehead. It just doesn't work at all. So eye height, I'm looking into the camera. In a way, this doesn't work for me because I'm not getting any feedback. I'm just looking at this small little camera lens, but it works for you. It gives you the impression that I'm looking into your eyes, and that's what we would normally do in face-to-face communication. So key thing here, if you really need to make some impact or connect with a person, or build the relationship with a person, or build trust with a person, make sure you are talking to the camera, not to the screen. Okay, so we're talking about webcams and software and microphones and the room and acoustics and the background. And also that's not the only thing to factor in, because really you can have really amazing software and a great setup, but if suddenly you're not really using your voice very well, and you might even be looking at the camera, but if you're doing strange things like this, or if you're adjusting your body language like this, it starts sending out a different message. And you'll start to get a different impression of me. And even if I'm trying to engage with you, it probably just won't come across so well. So also, our body language is important, our voice is important, our eye contact is important. Right, let's shake that off. Okay, so we want to make sure that our body language is engaging, that we're using our hands to gesture, to represent information as we're talking. Not the whole time, that's going to be distracting, but when we want to make impact, when we want to compare this with that, or moving forwards, when we're delivering a key message, gestures are really important. It's also about how you sit, it's your posture. It's also about your voice, making sure you're speaking with energy. Combining all these things together will transform your video calls. It'll make you more successful at building relationships. It'll make you more engaging and easier to listen to. And if you're in a sales or a customer-facing role, this will increase the probability of you making sales. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks very much.